The Marine Corps requires leaders of all ranks to have a deep understanding of war and the employment of force. MCDP 1 reminds Marines that the military profession is a thinking profession. Every Marine is expected to be a student of the art and science of war. It goes on to say that every Marine has an individual responsibility to study the profession of arms. Self directed study in the art and science of war is at least equal in importance to maintaining physical condition and should receive at least equal time. The Marine Corps Association understands the critical importance of ensuring that Marines are as mentally ready for combat as they are physically ready. That is why we offer an entire page dedicated to wargaming on our website. We have recommendations for both tabletop board games as well as computer games. And for Marine Corps Association members, there is a discount code for war game design studios that you can find on the website. War games are a great way to immerse yourself in history and to put yourself in the shoes of the great leaders of history. Go beyond guided instruction and experience the thrill of wargaming. Check us out at mca-marines.org/decision-making-exercises/wargaming-2. That's mca-marines.org/decision-making-exercises/wargaming-2. Take your training to the next level. Hey, Scuttlebutt listeners. Welcome to episode 215. This week, we are joined by Colonel John Atkinson and Sergeant Major Justin LeHew to give us updates on the Amphibious Tractor Memorial. Since we last spoke with John and JD, these two and the entirety of the Amphibious Tractor Association have been working tirelessly on building the memorial, and finally, after 7.5 years, have a date for the groundbreaking. We talk about the legacy of the Amphibious Tractor and Amtrak Marines and why they matter, the significance of the groundbreaking, and what is in store for the festivities. The groundbreaking will be at 3 p.m. on Thursday, October 23rd, on the Memorial Walk of the National Museum of the Marine Corps. For those in the National Capital Region, please join us in celebrating this achievement and those Marines who proudly wear that moniker, Amtracker. This is episode 215. Yes. Hey, Scuttlebutt listeners. Thank you for joining us and your continued support. I'm Vic. Unfortunately, I'm on the solo today. Nancy is quote unquote working out in California. She's out there for the week, and yeah, God bless her. But living life out in God's country, so not here today. And then William is continuing to rock and roll with his core voices and his documentary series that he's running that you can catch on our YouTube channel, as well as his battle study stuff. All these really great things that he's doing through MCA Films. So hats off to him, but yeah, he won't be with us today. So I'm here on the solo, but I'm not lonely because I got my Amtrak buddies here with me.
Yes.
So I am really just super excited to be welcoming back to the show Colonel John Atkinson and Sergeant Major Justin LeHew. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in sort of last minute here and joining me for this really fun conversation.
Thanks for having us back, Vic.
Yeah, Vic, I'm furloughed, so I had nothing else to do. And, but I'm glad to be here. We're really excited to be here, particularly at this point in this effort that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
Really important.
100%. So the reason for having you guys on is next week, October 23rd, we'll be christening the groundbreaking of the AAV or the Amtracker Memorial Monument at the National Museum of the Marine Corps. Super excited. Last time we had you guys on, everything was on a really positive glide slope. And so, months now to be able to actually break ground is really, really exciting. And I applaud your efforts and the efforts of the Amtracker Monument Foundation for all of the diligence and hard work. And we'll go into some of the things and some of the positive outcomes and what's going to be happening next week. But yeah, again, thank you both. Thank you both so much for coming on and sort of giving us an update on this. Just to provide some context to our listeners, um, and then correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was 2 weeks ago the Marine Corps officially decommissioned the AAV. I thought personally, there's no in a very Amtrak fashion. We had our decommissioning ceremony at the AAV schoolhouse, Camp Del Mar, Camp Pendleton, California. And the picture on, I think it was military.com, was a passenger view with Marines in coveralls and Wally Gator in the turret of one of the vehicles. And I'm just like, fucking A, guys. Like, you did it right. You did it right. But Sergeant Major, you were actually there, so maybe you could talk a little bit about it.
I was over at the second tracks when I didn't make it out the
Oh, you
California,
didn't make it all the way.
but
Okay.
I laughed my butt off because it was kind of the same thing. You know, it's retirements that are out here. I had my retirement at the schoolhouse, and you know, one of those honored salutes came from that same gator when you're going over the side. And make no mistake, gents, nobody can ever blame the AAV community that they are siphoning off funds away from the actual mission. Because you just take one look at that freaking 1969 Gator that is still
Yeah,
in that
it's the same Wally
outfit.
Gator.
It's like a set of green freaking fuzzy pajamas with some footies and everything else. And
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have wanted a more like jacked up Wally, like looking like Florida or something like that.
Yeah.
That was the most perfect, you know, pajama wearing Gator with that big beak from the 70s that they used to see Hill Street out there and kind of walk out the gate, maybe sit in some of them old theaters out there during his time off. It was incredible. It was they did it right, and every battalion that I've got to witness or see really warmed the heart, the send off that the community gave in each of their own areas for that platform.
Yeah,
that Gator is straight out of a dystopian Chuck E. Cheese horror film.
He really is.
It is. It's, for those who don't know or haven't seen the picture of it, it's less furry convention and much more horror film.
Bro, I was waiting for him like the Oregon Duck earlier in the year that lost his head running onto the field and then just had to snatch it up and walk off. Because I'm pretty sure Wally's head isn't held on with nothing more than some duct tape and baling wire.
Well, safety wire. Hey, we wouldn't want anything else representing us, though.
That's so true, so true. But before we started recording, Sergeant Major, you sort of were talking a little bit about the significance of this retirement ceremony. I know that you know, it was done a little bit tongue in cheek and in very Amtracker fashion, but at the same time, like, we aren't just you know, we're not just sending you know, fair winds and following seas to a platform. We're talking about something that really, you know, and I from my time in, you know, at CDNI, you know, we don't talk about service defining platforms because, you know, we as the Marine Corps are our own, you know, we define the service, not the stuff we use. But at the same time, like, it was instrumental not only across 5 decades of the Marine Corps, but in how we employed, how Marines viewed amphibiosity, what it meant to be the, you know, the America's 911 force, what it meant to be a crisis response force, what it meant to be expeditionary, like what it meant for us and our amphibiosity. Sergeant Major, could you just sort of talk a little bit about, or a lot of it, please, of what it meant, what the AAV was, and why it wasn't just the LVT modernized?
I think that most people don't know because we probably produced not only in since somebody saw the first tank crawl through a trench in 1917 and different things that you really do look at platforms that had revolutionized warfare, right? The aircraft revolutionizes warfare. The tank revolutionizes the battlefield. The Gatling gun changes the history around there. I don't think that people understand that this vehicle variant is right up there in the conversations with all of them. If you would cherry pick probably the top 50 vehicles that were ever produced in the history of the world that rank up with Tigers and Panthers and M1 Abrams and Sherman tanks and everything else, that you would be hard pressed to find a vehicle that was produced in any country around the world that is as versatile in its employment and revolutionary in the fact of what it came from as a hurricane rescue vehicle, went through the research and development process, and then came out as the vehicle that the U.S. Marine Corps saw merit and said, of course, hell yeah, we're going to weaponize that thing, and we're going to do this because it falls right into the 1930s, the 1940s, where we're seeing this lay down out in the Pacific that says we're going to need something like this as a breaching mechanism, right? And we all know that tanks are too heavy and they just can't, even the dual drive ones that they tried to push across the beach in Normandy in 1944, a lot of those duplex drive tanks that they tried to amphibize didn't actually make it onto Omaha Beach, and they're still sitting in the bottom of the channel. These things started earning their worth right from day one. And once they arrived, they never left. Because as the world starts to see this, they start to say in their own R&D processes, we want something like that. And for, I don't know, going on 70 plus years, we are the nation of choice that you go to when you want that kind of vehicle to develop for your own foreign nations or anything else, even though there are other nations that are developing and have now employed their own version of what our LVT was or our AVV was. I mean, we have Chinese copies out there that you know very well that they've been trying to employ, that they were stealing, when we were trying to push the AAA across the beach, we look over in China and all of a sudden we're seeing the variant of the AAAV, and they've never been able, they can produce it in crappy quantity numbers or whatever, but they don't have the training, the R&D and the development, nor the doctrine to know. And that is simply it.
It's a culture thing for sure.
We have an established doctrine, and our doctrine has dictated that we have invested in this concept, and the vehicle has changed over the years, right? But the concepts don't, and how we employ that. And there's only been a couple of times, other than the first time that the LVT showed up on the battlefield, there really has been only a couple of times, Vic, that we have gone through this revolutionary and evolutionary period at the same time. We have evolved over the years and the decades, but it wasn't really revolutionary what was getting put out there. It was just changing this or modifying this and maintaining the same concept, vehicle after vehicle after vehicle. The first couple of LVTs didn't have ramps in the back, and the Marines had to go over the side. So one of them is somebody decided we're going to put a ramp in the back of this thing. That's revolutionary. That changed the employment concept of the alligator marine community. Somebody eventually said, well, we're going to put some cargo hatches on the top to protect from indirect fire, weather, and everything else. That's evolutionary and revolutionary. And then you kind of get to every single one of those vehicles had that concept, ramp in the front, ramp in the back, different weapon systems, different this. And then in 1972, we produced a evolutionary and revolutionary vehicle that was not like the others before, other than the basic construction and concept that said, we're going to use it for this. It's going to have fire capabilities inherent to that. And it's also going to have a ramp to distribute that in the back, and we're going to keep tracks on it. That was the main four things that it's going to get to ship to shore. And I do believe that probably back then, because none of us were there, I do believe, looking into historical files and a few other things, Vic, is when they're developing that, they're coming out of Vietnam, where they just saw the largest vehicle we ever produced bogged down on land with minimal maneuverability, fire support, so much the grunts would ride on the top of them because they didn't want to ride down in the bottom of them. Gasoline to diesel, 80% land use, 20% water use, which was opposite of what that vehicle was generated for. And it had a ramp in the front of it that came down, right? Everybody kind of went, that ain't working. And so they came up in 1972 with a design that lasted more than 5 decades. And no other design has ever done that. And the beauty of the AAV and all of its variations, it had everything that all of those procurements did in all those generations before. Weapon systems, tactical employment, land and water speed capabilities, getting Marines from ship to shore, and then actually taking them on to use as basically infantry fighting vehicles when they went ashore. The generations before Vietnam kind of didn't have a lot of maneuverability, that they did a lot of infantry fighting vehicles, but they sure did all through those Pacific Islands. So we took all those concepts, and I think the procurers probably looked at it and said, at best, we're looking to get 10 or 20 years out of this thing, because that was the track record up till that time period. I don't think anyone, when they developed that in the late 1960s and produced it in 1972, not to be produced in the Republic of Vietnam to really replace the LVT because it was too late in the game. I don't think that any of the designers knew the beauty of the magnificent thing that they created that would last for 5 decades. And testament, I truly do believe, though, the major difference that cannot be understated, Vic, is the reason that that vehicle lasted for 5 decades was the operators and maintainers that we invested in to keep that platform running for 5 decades. And trust me, if the Marine Corps chose to hang on to the platform, those operators and maintainers would have kept them running, just like B-52 crews are keeping those flying for decades more. So it's just incredible to be able to watch the sundown of that platform and being a part of that community to do that. And both Colonel Atkinson and I and you and everybody else are just so honored to be able to hopefully deliver to the community as well, something that puts that and keeps that fluoride in the water that has never been represented before anywhere in America to the level that we're trying to make. And that is one place for all of those individuals to come together to reflect on both the past, talk about the present, and guys sit there and talk about with operators, maintainers, commanders, and everything is how we're going to take all of that and continue to maintain this for the future.
100%. Yeah, I definitely think that, and to echo everything you just said, Sergeant Major, the AAV, I don't think was ever envisioned of having the ability to be as modular as we made it into. And again, that's a testament to the folks up on the Hill who are doing acquisitions and procurement, folks who understand the mission and what needs to happen. And at the same time, I mean, we had, you mentioned the triple AV. There were so many iterations of the next generation of the AAV, yet the AAV continued to maintain, it continued to be relevant, it continued to do its job of being an amphibious infantry support vehicle that weathered Grenada, it weathered Persian Gulf, it weathered Somalia, it weathered all of the 20-year, the entirety of the 20-year war, OEF and OIF, Bosnia, you just name it, East Timor, all of these things that were occurring, while at the same time we were looking at the next generation thing. But it was the AM trackers, it was the AM, the maintainers, it was everybody who were just adamant about mission accomplishment and just making more with less, much in the same vein as the Wally Gator costume, is that we just had a mission and we continued to execute, and folks were, and it wasn't that we were limping this thing along. It was that it was this remarkable platform that was able to be modernized to meet the needs of the time. And this isn't to say, and as we start to talk more about the monument, the monument as well, is this doesn't mean that because ACV operator is no longer in the game, or has no longer has skin in the game. This monument is a testament now to our tires brothers, our yes, where the T stands for tires. We're all the same Amtracker community. The generation now who is doing expeditionary warfare and is executing amphibiosity, they're in this now modernized platform that is once again revolutionary in the way that we employ Marines, in the way that we establish, we respond to crises along the littorals. So it looked like you had something to say, Colonel Atkinson. Did you have something you wanted to piggyback on?
Yeah, I hate following Justin LeHew. Hate it. Because he's so brilliant. And
well, that's why I dumbed it down for you, so now you just pick it back up.
Yeah, ooga booga. Justin inspired a few things, and then looking at you having worked together in requirements over at SgtMaj. The first thing I'll tell you I marveled at growing up on the AAV is Justin was hit it about how dynamic it was, but at the same time it was the simplest of designs ever. And when you think about that, dynamic, multi-role, multi-mission, and really simple, and that always made me marvel at that. I want to hit on requirements a little bit, and Justin talked about that. And Vic, we've got some incredible people. Chris Woodburn, Kevin McConnell, of course. Kurt Cook, other folks that have been working requirements, and quite frankly, one of the things that people don't understand is what are the requirements that were levied on the AAV program or now the ACV program. And one thing the AAV did not have was survivability. And from the lessons learned and things we saw and experienced, and the loss of comrades in Iraq was the vehicle is not necessarily suitable on the battlefield in mass, and quite frankly, survivability moved way up all throughout the Iraqi war and Afghanistan in requirements. And so if you look at ACV, and we all grew up on the AAV. I love that vehicle. I love it. I couldn't agree more. We could run that thing another 50 years if we had the same Marines that had the experience, that grew up on them, weren't out in the desert in MRAPs for 20 years, had multiple deployments. My first platoon sergeant was on his 17th. The dude could smell a problem across Iran. And quite frankly, we didn't have that. So that's a part of the issues, with the AAV as well. But the requirements, lethality, survivability, you're going to get that. You got that in ACV. We're fielding, I think, 120 30-millimeter cannons. You want to talk about an increase in lethality to the division. That's extraordinary. And I make this point, I made it to you before when I was last on, Vic, is Amtrac, AMTRAC, is short for amphibious tractor, not spelt with a K. And it relates to tractive effort, as you well know, because you work requirements, for these platforms when you were a major. And this isn't, busting chops, and it's not being pedantic. It's a matter of fact. If you look out what's plowing fields in Iowa, they are tractors. If you look at, it's about tractive effort, not tracks. That said, again, I'm going to miss this old girl. I miss it already because I'm out, right? But when you look at this thing and they're working through, some of the early issues, we're figuring design issues out. Like, hey, you need to spread the tires a little bit more so it's not creating a wall of water hitting it, if it broaches. Hey, the propellers need to have the power to stay in front of a wave. We're learning, fixing, adjusting, but all of the programs that Justin just talked about, in terms of what we learned and the relatively minimal loss of life in the fielding and testing of these platforms that do incredibly dangerous things off the back of ships at night, and what compared to look at the rate of deaths at fielding the F4 Tomcat before NATOPS came out, and et cetera. And I'm not comparing it. I'm just saying an extraordinarily difficult mission. And I think one thing the Marine Corps has never done or fully understand how complex, how dangerous these programs are. We certainly know aviation. Aviation Hallway does a great job of that, but the GCE I don't think has ever had its head fully wrapped around it. But I want to finish on this because it's really important. Justin, you guys both touched upon it. This memorial is all about, from the LVT-1 Alligator to the amphibious combat vehicle and beyond. It's about honoring our legacy and past that was born in Dunedin, saw action in Guadalcanal, crossed the reefs at Tarawa, and all the battles you talked about, Vic, all the way through OIF. And the vehicle, this ACV, I've met a lot of the crews, a lot of the Marines out there. They are exceptional young men and women. When you watch them operating these things, it'll put a tear in your eye. When you really understand, you get in that weapon station, it puts a tear in your eye. Like, oh my God, I wish I had these capabilities. Are we giving up a little mobility, tractive effort on the extreme ends? Yes, that's a fact. Are we going to be much more mobile ashore? Unbelievably, it's got better tractive effort than the M1 Abrams does. So there's trade-offs when you prioritize survivability. You got weight issues. When you prioritize lethality, that adds weight. And quite frankly, wheels are better at the weight range this vehicle's at. Not to get technical, but it's just there's a lot of misnomers and misunderstanding out there.
Yeah.
And again, McConnell, Cook, Woodburn, a lot of folks in the program office at AVTB at the school. Amazing work to field this platform, and we owe it to these Marines that are crewing, that we are equipping with the ACV, to know they are as much part of our legacy, our heritage, as anybody else's. They are Alligator Marines.
They're carrying the baton now.
And we're going to inspire them with this memorial to carry the torch forward from Dunedin. And it's not that they're outside looking in. They are center mass. They are our focus. The rest of us we should look forward with pride and make sure they know you are Alligator Marines as much as the first Marines that showed up to Dunedin in the late 30s. So
yeah. Well said, sir. Well said. Well, on that note, then let's talk a little bit about the memorial. So we've got the groundbreaking in just a little over a week away. We got folks coming in. I've for sure I'm going to be there. But what's all going on? So last time we had you on, we had an art concept. We actually had a mock-up of what it was going to look like. We had all kinds of great merch. Where are we at now?
Yeah, Vic, again, thank you for bringing Justin and me on to put a spotlight on what we're doing. Justin quips about this all the time. We're 7.5 years into what we thought was going to be a 1.5 year effort to fundraise and get this done. And no complaining. There's been times it's been rough, and fundraising, I'll tell you, really sucks, man. Being a Marine and asking people for anything, never mind money, is just really nauseating. But there's some great folks out there. So most important, let me start there. This doesn't get done without money. And when we were last year, we were probably about half where we are in terms of our funds and where we are now. We're sitting probably, if I did the math in my head without including some of the things we got coming in for golf, probably around $430,000. We've got to get to $595,000. And that's an extraordinary price. And we've talked about that before. But we need money. A significant majority of the money we've taken in has come from individual Marines who served in this community, to include World War II, Korea. The AmGrunts and Vietnam generation have been leading the way. Small $10 a month donations. We've got one mom out there that, encouraging folks to go through their couches and find coins and ship all their coins. You know what? It made a difference. We have some incredible corporate sponsors. BAE, they gave us an injection several years ago. a very generous donation several years ago that really pushed us and gave us life. We were struggling, JD and I'll pause here if you want to talk. We were like, something's got to happen, or this is going to die. And sure enough, our friends at BAE, who own the blueprints, but of every vehicle back to the LVT-1, they're building new AAVs for our friends and partners out there. They're building the ACV. They are as much part of our legacy and our history and our future. BAE is as anybody. Same thing with L3 Harris, for example, on our radio systems, and pick the vendor, sub-vendor that has parts and pieces in every one of those. They're a part of this legacy as well. They went to war with us in a different way. And so I want to thank those that have stepped up and really helped us. BAE is huge, Kongsberg's huge, and a lot of the businesses right there around Quantico have helped us. But it's been a grassroots moment. Significant majority has come from Marines and retired and young Marines. Frankly, the first ACV platoon out of 3rd Tracks. Dear Lord, those men and women have raised a lot of money for us. Extraordinary. JD, you want to jump in there, man?
Yeah, it's a big risk, right? You put a lot on the line with a lot of this. So going from a development on a napkin, or going from anything from zero, from a conversation that is conceptual, to producing something of this magnificent magnitude that is going to go out there to represent the ages, right? The initial start of all of that is nobody's doing any of this. A lot of people are looking around and talking, and we've all grown up in different iterations of certain Amtrak associations for certain generations or whatever, and they were just like track pads falling off. Getting kicked off here and here, right? And then whatever's left on the track is propelling the track down the thing, and whoever gets a little bit of excitement over the years, they try to reinvigorate something, right? But I'm here to tell you, the past 20 years, we didn't have an association. We didn't have anything. I pulled out an old pamphlet that did have Wally Gator in a hatch that said, you'll remember it used to be right there at the schoolhouse. Yep. And that was the Amtrak Association. Come join, $5, whatever it was that was in there. But at the time I was receiving that growing up, that was dying. That just wasn't going forward. And I think a lot of maybe the social media platforms started jumping in and doing their own things, right? For all the right reasons, but they're like their own little clubs. And social media changed a lot of that. Is a lot of people aren't going to a big reunion in a year. That was just one battalion or not another. And it was a great community that just didn't have a heartbeat like connecting file that drew all that in is what it looked like. So in the development and the concept of that, this has been a running freaking street fight. I am going to look. There are people that have told me over the years, I bet you're going to be angry when that thing's built and you look around at all the people that's attending that and coming, and they didn't do anything, but what? Nothing but joy, nothing. To be able to see somebody come and walk in there with their small kids or anything from any generation, to be able to point at a brick or to visit a conceptual memorial that then becomes sort of like the Devil Dog head at Bella Wood, a place for Amtrackers to bring their families, regardless of where they served in whatever time, and then look around and say, in the whole existence of the U.S. Marine Corps, that position that we have on that memorial walk is almost like the sun with all the planets revolving around it. And it just, when you visit it, and you turn in a 360 direction and you see Korea over there, and you see the wall behind you, and then you see Reckless down the trail, and then you see different things, and you pass all the infantry monuments and aviation monuments, and you get to that, the Amtrak community was absent from all of that, and is one of the biggest connecting files, like you talked about, Vic. if we're not Amtrackers, we're artillerymen. If we're not Amtrackers, we're infantrymen. If we're not Amtrackers, we're gate guards. If we're not Amtrackers, we are processing enemy EPWs. No other MOS has really been the jack of all trades for the Marine Corps in the ground combat field. That is, who do we have? What do we need? Let me talk to that unit and see if they can do. And historically, more than anybody, the Amtrackers have always stepped up and said, we'll do it. We'll do it. Like somebody was alluding to with, we're not going to put Amtracks in Afghanistan. Now, I've got friends that were the first in Afghanistan in 2001. Eric Ingerson, Gary George, Warren Green, those guys were the ones that were out there floating around when General Mattis decided we're going to land in Afghanistan. And we're going to, this is the first thing of post 9/11 before the war starts to hit. Those were Amtrackers that land. And then you look at a decade later and there ain't no Amtracks because of what we learned along the way. But it didn't mean there weren't Amtrackers. And they became this next generation of AmGrunts, in MRAPs, in anything that could roll. The Amtracker said, put me in, coach. And they made every place better that they ever went to and plugged in that line. So to not have something that was the connecting file on that memorial walk or to something like that, to a few of us just looked around and said, people can do a lot of talking like people do over the years, but talk's cheap, man. You got to deeds, not words. And then once you become invested into that, you know that there's no quitting. That's going to go there regardless. And we have all had numerous conversations when we're either in cups, we're either trying to figure out like, oh my God, if we don't meet this metric by 90 days from now, that's going to be a cost increase of $85,000 or something. How are we going to do that? And there was a core nucleus of people that drove that, but also had the greatest, it was like the world's largest staff meeting, which was the internet and everything, helping guide along the way. Have you tried this? Can you guys do this? What about this? Hey, I think I know this guy over here. And after a couple years, that speed started picking up more and more, where it wasn't at 1 a.m. trying to figure out the next 90 days of if you don't hit that, you hit this. It was 2, 3, or 4 people going, I know somebody. Have we tried this? Have you did this? And once that started going, that starts cruising. But like Colonel Atkinson said, it really has still been the monthly donors for $17.75 or $19.41 or $18.33. And then the $20 here, the $50 here, the $100. We have people out there that are selling homes around America and have committed a portion of every sale of their real estate business. A check comes here. It comes right here to my office, and I open up the thing, and you're sitting here going, one, God bless that dude out there that's getting homes for people and everything else. And then all of a sudden, God bless the money he just sent here, because that gets you through another week for travel arrangements to get to another fundraiser and a bigger site that eventually gets us to this spot where we're at, where we are a week from now. There are dozens of other people saying they're building memorials. They are. But a week from now, shovels are going in the dirt and construction is happening on the AAV LVT, this Amtrak memorial. And then when people see that, how can you not become emotional doing that?
Yeah.
And then you're starting to see, man, we're not on the other side of the 50-yard line with our back against our own goalpost now. We're like the 30-yard line on the other team's side, driving for the next first down to put the freaking ball across the goal line. And I really do believe there's going to be a lot of people that continue to come on. This thing's going to churn, and in a very rapid manner after this. We're not talking the next month after this. We're not. This has been a slog of 7 years, but we're not talking another 7 years here. We're talking 7 months. You're talking once this stuff goes in and the hardscaping starts to go, and then we've got one of the greatest. Thanks to John and Peg and everybody, and General Brogan and guys finding an artist, not only that takes a concept, but finds a world-class sculptor that doesn't just say, no, my price is this, here's what you do, end of story, you don't make this. That dude, Gareth Curtis, has been workable, malleable, and a guy that has no connection to this whatsoever is almost, the dude needs to be like bestowed like honorary tracker status at the end, because what he is building, that is almost like Felix de Weldon quality Marine Corps War Memorial, when you see those 1950s things of the trucks moving the large Marines to drive them to DC that were casted somewhere else to him. That here pretty soon, Gareth Curtis is going to be putting things like that on a truck and sending it to Quantico, Virginia, to be placed on top of things that Klein Memorial is starting to lay out. And as this thing starts to grow, people are going to look at this thing and go, oh my God, this is something really special. And the best thing is, through those $5, $10, and $15 donations, they're going to be able to take their family there and say, I was part of it. I was part of that.
Hey, Vic, do you mind if I jump in here?
Yeah, please.
Justin did a phenomenal job. I will say, and I'm, very positive. There's a lot of latent potential out there in the community, both officer and enlisted, and that are for whatever reason they're hanging back, and I could be. I don't want to throw good money after bad. Well, that's not a problem anymore. That's not the case. That's not happening. This will happen. Whatever it is. And I really believe this, that if they're going to want to be plank holders in this effort, and by plank holder, the reference to to a newly commissioned ship, the first crew. I don't care if you donate $5 or $10, you're a plank holder. Being in on this, wave of donations that's going to fund it and put it in place, you're a plank holder, and we're going to find a way to recognize that somehow, documentation. But I really can't imagine, had I been on the sidelines saying that somebody else will do it or whatever. I don't mean to be pejorative. And then roll into them. I'd want to get to Quantico to see the museum and then see this memorial, because it is going to be exceptional. I want to look at my kids and say, I did that.
I helped with that.
Yes, I helped with that. I've got a piece of that, and they will. $10. We've got 8,400 followers on Facebook. If half of them gave us 10 or donated 10 or 20 bucks. Anyway, it really is, though, more of the investment in what we're talking about. It's not in a Justin LeHew and John Atkinson project where they hate us, like whatever. This really is a mission of love that for everybody we've served with, everybody we've heard of that we haven't served with, and for our legacy. One of our monikers is legacy matters, and it does. And inspiring the future. Justin said that yesterday. I've coined it. Inspiring the future with our new Alligator Marines Amtrackers. That matters. And if I could, real quick, and we may come back to it. Justin was talking about, hey, people pitching in ideas. And one of the things, and I think we might have talked about this last time, is, hey, why isn't it the P7? Why isn't it the P5? Why isn't it the and I'm going to just remind everybody, we chose the LVT-1 Alligator because it is the single platform that every generation ties back to. Those Marines that went down to Dunedin and worked with Roebling to militarize that civilian vehicle that Justin alluded to before, deliver the LVT-1 that, landed at Guadalcanal and then crossed the reefs in that utmost savagery, as Colonel Alexander Amtrak entitled his book. That's why. It's got nothing to do with Coast Battle Battalion. We based them on some recommendations, and I thought they were great, from guys like Colonel Chip McLean and some folks on the West Coast, and it was very constructive. We had Tarawa inlaid, Basio Island inlaid on the deck in black, and referenced Tarawa a bit, and we had no intention of making this about a battalion or a battle, or it was just first intended use. It was a great recommendation for that reason. It also was a cost avoidance, a significant amount of money to have that inlaid in black granite in our granite deck. So this really is, we've tried very hard to accommodate everything we possibly can. Last thing, and I don't think people understand our wall as well as they might, although there's pretty good descriptions on it. One, all the battalion logos are going to be represented on the center platform, and to include 3rd Amphibious Corps and all the battalions that made that up. The first, the AmGrunts out of 1st Tracks, we're going to reflect them. And we spent a lot of time making sure we didn't miss anything, and we had all the logos we need, and that's why we're using 3rd Amphibious Corps, because a lot of those battalions that fought fell underneath them. The Combat Assault Battalion that no longer exists will be reflected there. So that's important. We've got variants. Just to remind me, I think we had the LVT2, maybe or 4. We've got the House, the LVT4, the House 6, the P5, the 7A1, the Ram, the 7R, and the ACV. And they're not just going to be inlaid, they're going to be 3D relief images on each one of those placards. And those placards, a couple of them are going to have the history of the community and what trackers have done. And Justin tells us all the time, and I'm glad this is about the Marines that we equipped with machines. It's not the other way around. And you'll see when you look at the back of what it's about Marines. There's no question about it. 3D relief. Donors who donate a certain amount, and we've tried to stratify it based upon people's means. For $1,000, a unit can crowdsource the loss of a Marine. Some have done it. I'd like to cover down, or we'd like to cover down on everybody we lost. We can't. We'll do that somehow, but not on the wall. And we'll figure that as we go. But units have done that. Units have honored the war they fought in, and frankly, they nominated, funded it. We need the guys from Desert Storm. They nominated, and I'm not going to lie, I was excited, but the minimum is $1,000. I'd love to do it free for everybody. We can't. We got to pay for this thing, and that's a way to honor them. They were excited. They got $250 sitting out there, and I hope somebody can step up and carry them forward. But most importantly is this, and I'll zip it after. This is a whole space that was designed by Peg Lee, our artist, and an art director. All the swag you see with inputs from all of us. Peg captures our input and collaboration. Go, what do you guys think about this? It's like, most of the time it's like, holy shit, yeah. Or it's, hey, tweak this, tweak that. And she also mails all that shit out too. But I'm not bragging on my sister. She's taken ideas and works well with us. But we do have a team. Peg, Gareth, Rick, Burrows. They are more a part of this than most Marines are. I can assure you that's the case with Gareth. I can assure you that's with Peg. And I talked to Rick Burrows the other day. I am proud to be a part of this effort. I sent him a copy of the letter that the Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs sent us on behalf of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. General Mahoney sent it in full support of this effort, the memorial, our community, and getting it done. If anybody needs an inspiration to step up and sponsor or donate, that, I don't know what else you need besides Justin LeHew. It's the only thing I could comp that. But the space, and I'll leave it here. During this journey, we have gotten to know, but really for me, Justin's out in this environment all the time, every day. But being retired up here in Newport, the amount of Gold Star families I've got to know that I didn't know that have reached out and just I want my kid's name on that wall. I want people to say it when they visit. And frankly, they just wanted to talk about that brought me joy. That was a whole thing I didn't expect when we went down this road. It's a space where if you look at it, it's kind of like a theater where they can come in and reflect and pray. Where lieutenants who are going to get the MOS or whatever can come over and just immerse in the legacy of valor that the MOS they're going to get after they go to our schoolhouse. Another unifying thing, our schoolhouse out there at Pendleton. I've heard from some of our peers. Like, I can't wait to go there and just it's a place where I go to reflect on my brothers and to communicate with each other, to educate the general public. It's a whole space where it's not just that gorgeous memorial with those fucking 10-foot gators that are gonna rip your head off, and that badass. It's the whole thing, and I can't do it enough. We've got the images out there. If you come to the groundbreaking, we're going to integrate all that stuff, and we really hope everybody comes out. Every damn Amtracker in the National Capital Region ought to be at this rally point on the 23rd of October, not for us, for their memorial. And if they can get out to golf on the 24th with us at Potomac Shores, most of that money is going to go to close this out, with a couple other things we'll go in, and we'll hopefully hit that before we go. Simultaneously, we got a couple other fundraiser events. But also, here's the other thing we're able to do. Every portion of every entry fee, by the way, gets you coffee, lunch, dinner, all your beverages all day, and a live rock concert with Brisk Band. So if you're from the NCR, you know who Brisk Band is. They just opened for Tonic last weekend. They're incredible, incredible band. It gets you up, but it's going to allow us to comp any sergeants, petty officer 2 and below, or service equivalent that want to come out and golf, that their unit commanders and sergeants major will give them a day to go to this PME. We're going to comp them, and the people that sign up for golf and sponsor are going to help us do that and allow us to continue. And the last thing I'll say about that, this is wicked cool, and I just found this out. If you don't need more inspiration than that, and some of the raffles and things we've got that are going to be cool, we just found out we've got a direct descendant of Presley O'Bannon going to be out on the links with us. So
that's awesome.
Come golf with Marines. Come golf with some legends. We've got Alligator Marines, past and present, coming in from California, the Midwest, Florida. But I'm not going to lie. We want them all. We want more. And I certainly would like to see more people come out and golf with us. It will help us, but this is, again, like the memorial. This isn't about golf and taking your money. We've done nothing, even with our big sponsors, that we can't give something back that there's a value to them. And this golf course is about certainly accomplishing the mission. It's taking care of Marines, mission first, people always. And General Brogan's helped with that. Sergeant Major LeHew's helping with that. Everybody that enters the golf tournament scramble is going to help with that, both mission and people. And I can't say any more. This is legit, deep leadership traits, principles, and a fucking deep love and admiration for the legacy that's our responsibility to carry forward and pass on. And that's what it's about. So if people can come out, sign up as soon as possible for golf, please do. If you could sponsor something, great. But if nothing else, one more thing, we also are creating a new entry for folks that don't golf, that want to come out and hang out with legends. I'm not including myself in that. There's going to be an entry, and there's going to be a slight fee to it, but that gives them everything but the golf, all the chow, all the beverages they can drink, whatever kind, all day, and a rock concert. I think we're going to have some equipment out there, and we really have some great raffles and prizes and shenanigans that'll go on. Of course, it's a tracker event. So please, if folks can help us with that, we'd love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So just to recap on that, I guess. So the 23rd is the groundbreaking at the National Museum of the Marine Corps.
1500. Yep.
1500. And then the 24th, the Friday, day after, golf tournament in Dumfries at the golf course again?
Potomac Shores. Let me back up, and I'm going to give Justin probably a pretty good avenue of approach in here. So the groundbreaking is starting at 1500. on Thursday, the 23rd, on the Heritage Walk at the National Museum of the Marine Corps. You won't be able to miss it. We'll have that place churched up to get you out there. Anybody that needs help, movement, we're going to have ground mobility. Unfortunately, be a golf cart, but better than nothing. And then we've got a reception going that evening,
right.
and the groundbreaking, of course, and this reception, no cost to our guests. And I'm going to hand it over to Justin because we've got the most extraordinary venue to host this reception, and even manage the crowds that we're hoping to get.
Yeah, after the groundbreaking that day, we're going to open up the offices here in downtown Fredericksburg. That has been the historical operation of numerous lines of effort that have been operating down here. People are going to be able to come enjoy the space, enjoy downtown Fredericksburg. At 1800 that night, it's going to be catered in by Mission Barbecue. As John has already alluded to, that's going to have one of the band members from Brisk down here playing some live music in an old historic 1830s warehouse right smack in the middle of historic Fredericksburg. And a lot of other people that have been around knows kind of Fredericksburg isn't what Fredericksburg was 20 years ago. Fredericksburg is now Fred Vegas, and it
really is.
Fredericksburg is where even all the cool people that live in Alexandria and Annapolis now come here on the weekends, rather than everybody here going there on the weekends. So I think a lot of people, if they haven't been in the area, who are coming in for the event, that has not been down in Fredericksburg for a lot of years. It has maintained itself as one of the most historical cities in America, but it has modernized in all of the right ways down here to provide a grand opportunity for everybody to come in. And that's going to be following the groundbreaking on the 23rd. Everybody cruising down here, partying responsibly, doing everything that they need to do, and then getting back up into the area on the 24th to start whacking some balls, some good camaraderie, and everything that Colonel Atkinson had stated that's going to happen up there at the phenomenal golf tournament. And in the meantime, with that, Vic, I think we'd be remiss right now. We actually do have another really good fundraiser going on this week that most people, maybe it's a little buried with the golf or whatever, just due to the size, but I will tell you, tell Nancy too. I mean, Nancy's running around out there right now. She needs to link it up with Doug Berry and the Forgotten Sons Motorcycle Club. I'm sure Doug and those guys will even pick her up down in La Jolla and put her on the back of a chopper, man. Yep, and they will take her up to Vista, California. We all know that that's just outside of Oceanside. And they have a great event that is coming up called the Live to Ride event. It's on 18 October from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. That day. And the Forgotten Sons Motorcycle Club is an All Marines chapter. And they have bent over backwards with multiple chapters around the area to do some really great things over the years for multiple organizations. And when I say do some really great things, these are the kind of guys that are paying people's rent when they have a family accident that happens. These are the kind of guys that come together to throw a bunch of Toys for Tots to get toys to kids, to the Toys for Tots centers, to do whatever that they are doing, poker runs, all of that. And they have this time around been gracious enough to say that their annual Live to Ride event is going to sponsor the Amphibian Tractor Association and Memorial, which means the proceeds from what they bring in is specifically going to build the Amtrak Memorial. And they are going to they have one of the best raffles I have ever laid my eyes on. And it will be out there in Vista, California on that date. You can see the flyers kind of going around social media right now. And they're going to go out. They're going to have a great time, 50-50 raffles, do everything. And all the proceeds that they have after they pay their expenses around the thing come over to help make a contribution to that memorial. And one of the neatest things about that is this is a group of Marines from all military occupational specialties. You've got aviation ordnance men, you've got maintainers, you've got chief warrant officers who served on multiple platforms like LAVs, Amtraks, and tanks that are part of this organization that all came together and said, we agree this year we're going to put our efforts towards helping these guys get to the finish line on this memorial. And that's spearheaded out there by a good friend of mine, retired Sergeant Major Doug Barry. And that name should be familiar to Amtrackers because I kind of handpicked Doug Barry when I turned over the schoolhouse to go out to take over the 3rd Marine Regiment. I said, this is the guy that needs to come to the community to take care of Amtrackers. And he did that. The 21 area ran the schoolhouse, got a very good affection for Amtrackers at that time. And they could have selected hundreds of other causes out there to donate this event on the 18th to. And they said, we're going to come together to help these guys build that more. So once again, 18 October, which is this upcoming Saturday, they'll be doing that out in Vista, California, right there at the VFW. And anybody can find out more information just by tracking our own website that we have. Colonel Atkinson's been putting it up there too. We'll put it up there 3 or 4 more times this week to make sure it gets out there. And that just goes to show you there's multiple efforts. And it's so neat to see, Vic, over the years of when we really didn't have any effort and we couldn't get a hosted event to do anything. And then all of a sudden you got people like Devil's Backbone coming in saying, hey, we're going to throw some ducats in and we're going to help, thanks to Mark Chabot getting out there and making things like that. The Amazon and Ian McDuffie, the General Brogan rallying his efforts to get breweries and everything else. And then we have a Lost Trail Winery that's up in Ohio that is run by an Amtrak sergeant that is up there that really was kind of one of the first big fundraisers. And he even made Chris Rohr made dedicated Amtrak bottles of wine and produced that people can find in our swag shop and still order today. And also, pretty neat thing is Chris Rohr and his family is going to be down here for the memorial groundbreaking and also for the golf, which gives a lot of people the opportunity to be able to come here and talk to people other than just me and Colonel Atkinson that have really made an impact. It's going to be a who's who of who's been doing this for about the past 7 or 8 years. And then it's going to be a who's who that's layered on top of that of all the characters around the Amtrak community that everybody has grown to love that makes us a community.
Yeah, hey Vic, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I do. I don't mean to be rude by doing it, but perfect segue if you don't mind. In terms of events we got going on. So I'm glad that JD mentioned Sergeant Major Doug Barry, because I wasn't gonna, because I'm pretty sure he'd have kicked my ass, because he is really, he doesn't want any credit for anything, and I'll tell you, he deserves a lot. But I know this from meeting members of that group. They are all equally into this, and they're all from other MOSs. And Doug's at Grunt, and he is actually, for all those grunts out there, particularly those we've lifted to beaches either in their history, like 2nd Marines or 5th Marines or 7th Marines in Korea. He is our senior enlisted advisor for the infantry, senior infantry advisor. So we have incorporated as best we can, covering down. We also, Marine Corps Marathon, if it doesn't get canceled with this government shutdown. And oh, by the way, we're going forward with our event, whether there's a government shutdown or not. What we're going to lose, and it's tragic to us, is we planned this the week that the OAG's operational advisory groups are going to be in town. And that was going to allow us to bring in all of the battalion commanders and senior enlisted from all of the battalions to be at the groundbreaking and other events. And I don't know that that's still going to go, but Colonel Berenson, and the other battalion commanders have been unbelievably supportive. We hope they get out here, but I don't know. With respect to the bike ride, I want to thank Colonel Berenson and the other battalion commanders. They all have bike safety clubs and safety groups and bike riders. And I hope they all hear this. And any bike group around Camp Pendleton or the area, please turn out. Again, this isn't about squeezing money. This is good. Well, it is, but it's going to be a hell of a good time. And the raffles are extraordinary. But moving on real quick. And then before we go, I do want to thank a few more of our sponsors, but I can hold. We've got a group of Marines, officer enlisted, they happen to be down from Camp Lejeune, a lot of them from Second Tracks, but not all, a couple different MOSs. They have formed a team. And they're running on behalf of their own chosen fallen, one of their comrades that has been that is no longer with us. We have donated custom-made shirts with the name of the individual on it, and we'll post that out today. Actually, they're running the Marine Corps Marathon, and the proceeds from anybody who supports the team in general, individual runners, they're donating it to the memorial. Going back to the wall. For if they, raising the money that looks like they're going to, the names of their fallen will end up on our wall in bronze in perpetuity. So, like I said, there's no free chicken, and we don't want free chicken. They're going to go out and slog 26 miles on the Marine Corps Marathon. I've done it. I know it's tough. They're doing it for the fallen, right reason. They're doing it for us, a right reason, and we're taking care of them as well. And I think that's really important. If you go onto our website, there's the golf ground-breaking drop-down menu, excuse me, and there's a Marine Corps Marathon drop-down menu. And there's also a Brogan's Challenge out there. General Brogan's put up $5,000 to be matched or exceeded. Mission first, people always, to help the mission move forward, but also dedicated to help us comp those sergeants, petty officers, and below. So three efforts, 2 coasts, Amtrakking, baby.
Yeah, that's right.
It's MAGTF. This is a MAGTF, a national MAGTF operation.
That's awesome, sir. And so just for our listeners, that website is amphiboustractormemorial.com. We'll put it in the show description, but please go check it out. Gentlemen, thank you so much for giving us this update, for taking the time, and honestly, for all of your efforts and everything that you all have done to continue to move this ball down the field. And I'm really excited to be participating next week, and I can't wait to see you all in person. And I'm really looking forward to all these events. This is so well thought out, really well. And I love that the focus here is the community and not the platform. And so thank you again so much for all that you've done and for sharing this with us and letting us participate in whatever way that we have here in the Marine Corps Association and the Scuttlebutt to help you all with this really important endeavor. So thank you.
Hey, Vic, pleasure. Yeah, hey, Vic, if I can thank you. It's an honor to be here, and it's an honor I know I'll speak for Justin here. I rarely do that, but it's an honor for us to have dedicated the last 7 years to this and doing it and pulling the community together. But Justin mentioned a number of sponsors. We've got a few other sponsors that are important. So I don't want to miss anybody. We mentioned BAE and Amazon Military. Plant Your Roots is the realtor that Justin was talking about as well out in California. So if you're looking for a house or whatever, look up Mike Ritrovato, a master sergeant who is doing this for us. On Your 6 bourbon, they have created limited edition. We have 6 etched bottles with our logo on it. And so they've been helpful to us. And MLT, a contractor here out of in the Virginia area that supports all sorts of things to include Amtrak, but across the Marines. M&T Bank, Consberg, they are providing us our remote weapon station and systems. They've been unbelievable, and we look forward to seeing them out there. And then Master Sergeant Chris Holman, who has been hugely helpful to us, particularly financially, and provide all sorts of support. So I'm sure I missed people. I didn't mean to. We'll catch you at the groundbreaking and on the golf course if we did.
Yeah. Awesome, sir. Thank you so much. Sergeant Major, thank you again for taking the time and for hosting and for everything. So, all right, gents, have a wonderful day. Have See you in a week. And yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Scuttlebutt is a production of the Marine Corps Association. You have heard the voices or contributions from Major Vic Rubel, USMC retired, Nancy Lichman, William Truding, and our guest. Ty Frazier is the editor, sound engineer, and technical producer. The Marine Corps Association is not an agency of the U.S. government. The opinions expressed in this episode are the personal views of the participants and do not reflect the official position of the United States Marine Corps, the Department of Defense, or the Marine Corps Association.